New this morning, a serious crash ends with one man being thrown out of a car. It happened just a few hours ago, right before 3 o'clock this morning. This is at Ladera and Sequoia. It is out west in Albuquerque. Right now, this is what you need to know. North and southbound Ladera is closed. The man who was in this crash was rushed to UNM Hospital. Investigators haven't said exactly who he is or how badly he is hurt. We will keep you posted. And developing now as we turn to 5:32 is news on Syria. President Obama is expected to lay out his case for bombing that country in a speech tonight on primetime television. But now this airstrike may not be needed. Russia is raising this idea that Syria turns over all of its chemical weapons to the international community for those to get destroyed to avoid any military action. And so far, it looks like President Obama is at least optimistic about this idea and considering it.
It is a potentially positive development. I don't think that we would have gotten to the point where they even put something out there publicly had it not been, and if it doesn't continue to be a credible military threat.
Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid here has postponed a test vote that was supposed to happen today. Now, in a CBS tally of House members, it shows 189 representatives plan to vote no or are leaning that way on authorizing a strike. In the Senate, 26 are voting or leaning no, with 28 voting or leaning yes. Much closer there. The New Mexico Senator Martin Heinrich announced yesterday that he will support a resolution that would authorize limited military force for the U.S. in Syria. On the flip side, Senator Tom Udall, who's expected to hold a press conference today, has argued against any U.S. military involvement in Syria's civil war and has made national headlines for his speeches in Congress about that. All right, back here in New Mexico, the man known as the president of Santa Fe's Bandidos motorcycle gang is now behind bars after a raucous bar brawl sent 2 people to the hospital. Santa Fe police arrested Lucas Miller Friday morning. He is the leader of the Bandidos in Santa Fe and was wanted on a warrant out of Texas. The officers say he was involved in a fight at the Texas Stagecoach Saloon in El Paso last month. And according to the police, the Bandidos were congratulating a groom at his wedding reception being held at the honky-tonk when a fight started. The groom's dad tried to break it up and ended up taking the brunt of the beating.
One of the members stepped on his face. He had a fracture on his bone in his cheek and then some swelling on his brain. So some pretty severe injuries.
The groom's mom also got caught up in the fight. Now, she and the groom's dad both went to the hospital. Investigators in Texas contacted Santa Fe police for help in identifying the Bandidos. 4 other men whom you just saw were all arrested in connection with the fight, and we are told that more could be soon. Valencia County Sheriff's investigators armed with search warrants are hoping to make an arrest soon in a triple shooting from last weekend, which has now turned into a double murder when a second person died. Wesley Hobbs was shot twice in the head at a home in Jarales, just south of Belen, early Saturday morning. He was 54 years old and died after that. Now his 24-year-old daughter, Amanda Hobbs, has also died. That happened yesterday. Hobbs' wife, Patricia, was also shot but survived. The sheriff says this is definitely not a case of murder-suicide, but he doesn't know yet whether the family was exactly targeted here or what happened. The sheriff says it does not look like whoever did this broke into the home.
We haven't established a clear motive for the shootings at this time, but we are working some leads and working on obtaining some search warrants.
Now a neighbor tells us the family also has a son. However, he was camping in the Jemez Mountains when the shooting happened. Happening now at 5:35, making downtown Albuquerque a more attractive place to visit and more lucrative spot for business is the ultimate goal, starting today with a meeting that is in the works. City engineers are going to present plans today to the Alvarado Task Force on upgrading parts of downtown. This includes the Alvarado Transportation Center and the section near 4th Street and Central known as the 4th Street Mall. And we talk with people in the area who say it's going to take a lot to get more folks downtown.
I think most of all they need to clean it up with the trash, the homeless, and the odor is like really bad. We walk here every day. It's a nice little walk, but it definitely needs to be cleaned up.
City councilors Roxana Myers and Isaac Benton are pushing for this big makeover. While there could be a vote on the plans today, it still won't be a done deal. There's still no timeline set for the project on when anything could get done. City leaders agree this is just one of many areas that needs attention to attract more people and companies to the downtown part of Duke City. Well, it's one of the last dairies that still delivers milk in Albuquerque, and Now, unfortunately, it's calling it quits. Mickey's Dairy says it has to put the farm out of business because of New Mexico's drought and economy. The dairy farm in the South Valley says business has been terrible for the last 5 years. The farm used to have about 300 head of cattle, but now there are just about 50. In fact, many have been sold to slaughter because they're just too expensive to keep.
Drought after drought after drought. Borrowed money to stay in business, and it's no longer feasible.
The dairy's owner there says the cost of feed has quintupled. That means it has gone up 5 times. To make up for it, they've had to raise their milk prices. However, government regulation prevents them from charging a whole lot more. So the farm has also been forced to lay off workers. The dairy farmers say they're not sure how much longer they'll be able to stay in business, but they hope to sell the farm sometime in the next year. Well, a new federal study is going to look at how best to plan for Albuquerque's urban sprawl while facing the challenges of a changing environment. It's a pilot program for a new type of urban planning where climate change is front and center. Federal government's teaming up with the Mid-Region Council of Governments to look at ideas for developing Albuquerque in a way that'll cut down on things including water use and drive time, which cuts down on emissions. The feds hope to take lessons learned from this study and apply it to cities all across the country.
The impacts of climate change and the type of growth that occurs in a region like this can have really serious impacts on things like air quality and water availability in the region.
The results will be integrated into the metro area's official long-term plan for growth. The $500,000 study is all federally funded. Should be done in about 18 months. Well, U.S. Education Secretary Arne Duncan passed through Albuquerque as part of a nationwide bus tour yesterday. He toured some classrooms in Albuquerque with Superintendent Winston Brooks, then held a roundtable discussion with teachers, district leaders, parents, and community members talking about how New Mexico can improve its schools, which, as you probably know, is a big issue here, with student achievement rated as one of the lowest in the whole country.
The fact that you have 30,000 ninth graders and only 20,000 12th graders, my question to the state is, where are all those kids going and what chance in life do they have?
Arne Duncan praised APS for its efforts to increase graduation rates, saying it's a huge step in the right direction. New Mexico Secretary of Education designate Hannah Scandera says the state overall is also improving. Just this past year, the percentage of proficient 11th graders was the highest the state has ever had, with improvement nearly 21%. Graduation rate also jumped from 63% to 73%.